Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Ash Borland, and Ash is back on the podcast. Yes, he has been on the podcast a couple of times before. The reason I wanted to get Ash back onto podcast was just to talk about the world of digital marketing, what's hot right now, what's going on in the world of digital marketing from a content creating point of view. And we just had no agenda with the podcast. We were going to have a very much open discussion, and quite quickly and understandably, with what's going on right now, we got onto the topic of AI, and Ash shared his sort of thoughts, ideas, and what his take on AI is for the mortgage broker and mortgage broker creating content right now. So let's just get Ash onto the podcast. You're listening to the Mortgage Broker broadcast with me, Craig Skelton, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. So welcome to the podcast, Ash. How are you?
I'm very good, man. I'm just putting my heating on. It's so cold.
It's good job we're not recording this in January and then releasing it in June, because people will be freaked out going, so yeah, why it's not that cold?
It's minus seven. So horribly cold at this current point in time.
That is cold. You're suffering with the cold in the southern part rather than the northwest, because it's sort of 4 or 5 up here at the moment. So
yeah, I said that I've had a few clients a lot of my clients are up in the north, in the north, and they've all said that yesterday. They were saying, "Oh, it's pretty warm here." I thought, well, it's not. Like here, it's absolutely freezing, but all fine. I don't mind.
Good. So you've got clients in the north. So have you got sort of like a translator you're working part time with now?
Yeah, all my clients are in the north. This is a problem. It's absolutely great. I understand them because I'm originally from Liverpool, but the software that tries to do subtitles doesn't really understand them very well. I think it's Marty that your guys when you work with, like, bless him with him. Like, I interviewed him on my show, and the transcription of what he said was completely, it wasn't even accurate whatsoever.
Do you know what we've just created there, Ash? That is literally a Dragon's Den moment. There should be some captions, AI.
Irish, Scottish, and Welsh.
Yeah, there's got local dialect that picks up local things, but the thing is with that is that the beauty of going onto your podcast and coming onto my podcast is quite relaxed, informal. There's no real set agenda. We're just talking. So when we are just having that conversation, you will naturally slip into your local dialect in terms of and your local accent. So then, and that is good because you're not putting any posh accent on or northern accent or anything like that. But then obviously from a transcription point of view, that sort of struggles with it.
It's a nightmare. It's a real nightmare. Like, I find it all the time. And as well, transcriptions are funny because they're not good for like someone like me. So because I'm Southern, so I have but my family are from Liverpool, and my original side of my family is half Scottish and half Irish. So like it's so I speak very quick, and that is I have to purposefully slow it down. And so for transcriptions, that's a real problem because they do constantly miss out a word, all the time. Like, especially if you use something like the script, which I use for my videos, and like use subtitles, and it does it from it, and I'm always like, oh, I've got to go back in and add the word in. And sometimes I'll just leave it. Anyone who watches my videos, you'll know they're just missing words. But then sometimes like the word is very, very important, so I'm like, oh, I've got to go in and add it in.
But because I've noticed recently with LinkedIn, with its sort of adding the auto transcriptions into videos, and then you can go into that and then edit, remove, and change all things like that. So I just, when I'm putting my shorts on, it's just literally is just remove them, just get them out of the way. We've already got the transcript. But that is annoying when I see sort of people that are not aware of it and they've taken the time to put captions into the videos. And then I was watching one this morning, and then the LinkedIn override just talks over the hard work that the broker's done, which is such a shame.
That's quite common now. Like, it's so funny with these subtitles. Like, I feel like like I'm some sort of like old granddad now in the kind of marketing space for mortgage. Like it's so weird, the stuff that happens now, that if I think back to like 2015 when I was doing it at the beginning, like, which is wow, how long ago it was.
8 years. 8 years.
Yes, yeah, since I made my first video, 8 years, 2015. So like, it's quite mad when I look at that. How much has changed? Like subtitles, to get subtitles on a video was just impossible. Like just impossible. Like you had to use Rev. Like all this stuff now is just at the touch of a button at your fingertips. A lot of it's free. Back then, like even just to make a video square, you know, and you used to have to put like a square video with the banners on the top. So it'd be like a normal video with the banners and the writing. Would be hours of figuring it out and working it out. And now it's just touch of a button. And then you've got things like AI that do it literally for you. It's quite crazy, really. But then sometimes I also find that stuff's really good. But also sometimes you can't really beat the old way of doing it. I used to manually write my subtitles. I would watch the video. That's why I only ever did a 1-minute video. I would do a video and then I would use Video Leap, the video editing software. I bought a course for Video Leap called Video Marketing Mastery, I think it was called, and by a guy called Jamie Alderton. And then I just realized what I would do is I would do the video. I would then create like I'd make text and then I'd slice the text up and then I would listen to the text and I would write what I said every 2 seconds. So that's why I only did a minute, because it would take me about an hour to do the full, shoot the video, add it in, and then I'd write the text. But it did create the best subtitles at the time because I could like change the colors of them and stuff, you know, and make them different. But yeah, I did that manually for about 18 months. Like, man.
Welcome to the Grandad Hour, the Grandad Podcast.
Mate, that's just like, it's one of those things now. If anyone goes, oh, it takes too long, I'm like, you can shut up. Like, you have no idea.
Nowadays, you don't know you were born. Bro.
Exactly. Like, literally, like the stuff that I would have to do in order to even get a subtitle on a video, or even like just mad, absolutely mad now compared to like software that goes through, which is amazing because it now means that more people can use it.
I think, but it does obviously make it easier for brokers nowadays to add their captions and everything else. And we talked before about friction and making things as easy as possible to get things done. So, but Ash, we've sort of gone straight into the podcast. I've not even introduced you, welcomed you, or anything like that. We've just gone straight into it. So, thanks for coming back onto the podcast. It's great to see you and great to catch up. And no agenda. We sort of just having a chat on the podcast about what's going on. And I already now know that you've got more northern clients than you've got southern ones. So I've learned something.
More northern clients and not more women than men. That seems to be I don't know where that's skewed from because I'm a southern guy, but like, yeah, more, I'd say 80% women and probably 65% northern. Mad. And always has been, by the way.
Not normal, didn't you? You said northern.
Yeah, northern, definitely not normal.
Definitely not. So if you're looking to change Ash's percentages in terms of his diversity, then if you are a southern male, then please reach out and he's happy to work with you.
Yeah, but well, the problem is most southern males are idiots. No offense, guys.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm joking.
And that's where we're in the podcast.
And that's going to be clipped. That's like an Andrew Tate moment, where they're going to take something that's so not from the long form, and you're going to go, Ash says all southern men are idiots. No.
Just make a note of that short that I'm going to create there at 7 minutes 25 seconds in. So.
I love it.
So what else is going on, Ash? What else is going on in the world of content marketing, apart from brokers not realizing they're born and having AI and captions?
Yeah. So what else is going on? Loads is happening, really, but it depends. I mean, in the world of content marketing right now, we talked about like captions, but we are seeing like a rise in AI in general. That's huge. I'm actually just after this recording this, I'm doing a live stream on that with Chris Target from Social Brokers. I've been on your show many times, and talking about that because it's a funny one. That's probably the biggest shift in content marketing that we're seeing right now. I think it's massive. I've been purposefully this is actually, if we're recording right now, it's the first time I've ever spoke on it recording at all. I haven't spoke about it on any of my shows or anything. I've been using it for a long time, but I've purposely kept quiet on it because everybody, everyone is talking about it. And the thing I would say with it is that I wanted to form a proper opinion on it and understand where it fits, the good, the bad, the ugly right now, and where it could potentially go before I speak about it. Because I don't know if you've seen, it's literally all over social media. Everybody who's some form of marketing is like AI, and and I just wanted to take a couple of seconds to get my thoughts on it. And so now I do know, but AI, and so I'm doing my first live with Chris because it's could have, he's had a similar kind of thought process behind it. But yeah, that's massive. That's completely changed the game. AI in general for like script writing, for post writing, to be completely honest with you, for everything, suitability letters, like the whole lot. It's pretty crazy.
And to be fair, I have looked into it, and obviously this podcast will go out after your live one, so check
Yeah,
out
because the live is right now. It comes out today.
No, but it's good to reference to that, because then obviously if people haven't sort of seen you on that and Chris talking about that, then absolutely. But I think it's something that I'm aware of, and probably I am aware, and I think I've done a bit of research into it and looked into it. The things of when I've been looking at Jasper and content for my website and looking at blogs and things like that. I also looked at that for whether that's something that could create scripts for various things and podcast recordings and stuff like that as well. Then there is sort of things like that. So we'll not sort of delve too much into AI then, because obviously that's something you want to sort of.
Well, we can talk about it. No, it's fine. It's out. I would talk. I'm happy to talk about whatever you want to talk.
It's out. So
yeah, be out. And I also know what I feel about it now. Like the reason why I wasn't going to talk about it was I very open about it. Is I found it like one thing that people know about me or may or may not know about me. So like I literally spend, like I said to you before, this like 3 hours a day on CPD and of learning what's coming in the marketing space. I listen to all the podcasts across the board. I listen to different audiobooks all across the board, not just for mortgages, but for everything, what's coming on YouTube, how things are changing on all the platforms. And AI came across my radar at the beginning of November, and I started using it. And normally one thing I've done, I did this with Facebook Reels, and many people did really well with Facebook Reels. And if you go through the mortgage kind of marketing space, normally it's me going, this is the thing that's really, really good. And then all my competitors jump on it and then do it as well, which is great. I like that. That's my role in this space. So I'm happy with that. But with AI, it was just one of those things where I think it was so monumentally different to everything else, like Big View or things, all these things that come before. It was very different. This was like, and I thought I need to stop and take a second to really think, how does this work? Because if I just go into the world of mortgage advisors and say this is what this does, mortgage advisors, and I love you all very much because it is my, like I wouldn't pick this niche. I spend my days speaking to them and I spend all my life consuming your content. But vast majority of mortgage brokers and mortgage advisors are looking for easy ways out of doing the hard work. And AI is such one of those. It is such a liposuction diet pill for marketing, and it's not. And but a lot of people think it is. And I just was like, how does this fit in? So I've used it every single day since about the first week of November. It's transformed the way I make content, but it's not replacing what you have. And that's now I feel comfortable talking about it. So I'm like, okay, I know how it would fit, how in my workflow it fits. And really what it is AI, if you put rubbish in, you're going to get rubbish out. What AI is really, really good for, like with myself, I do everything the same. But when it comes, once my videos are made and I shoot mine in a transcription service, I then put the transcription into the AI and say, can you please rewrite this and turn this into a blog or a post? So it's my words being turned into longer pieces of content. Wow. I never ask the AI, can you give me 7 ideas on this? I don't ask it for things. I just ask it to rephrase, reformat, restructure the idea I already have. Right. And I think that's now my stance on it for probably the next year, I can imagine, because I think what's going to happen is with AI is too many people are just thinking, you're just going to get a million brokers going, can you give me 6 mortgage tips? And we're just going to get over and over again the same rubbish. Thing. And I think one thing that's wonderful about AI is niching has never been more important. Yeah, because true. Like niching and like deep niching. I've had a few people on my podcast who are like, they're like niching in very mortgages for actors, like mortgages for like very specific niches. And I think that's the only way that you're going to outlast the AI is if you've got to kind of go down the rabbit hole further and further and further. And I think that's from what my experience has been.
think that's a beautiful point in terms of when people, I know these brokers that work on, like I referred to Jasper before, in terms of creating blogs for them and things like that, their feedback is good, but obviously there's a lot to rewrite, because the whole point of content is you're getting across your personality, getting across your authority, and everything else we've sort of talked about time and time before. So the thing with it is the personality side of things. So if you absolutely 100% spot on, as you always are, with things like, if you're just going to say to AI, top 10 tips for this, 6 tips for that, there's going to be hundreds of brokers doing exactly the same thing, because they know it's a quick win, it's an easy thing. But flipping it on its head, like you've just talked about there, and gone, okay, well, I've already got the transcription, but what I want to do is create a blog from what I've said already, because you will use words that you will use phrases, and whether you like it or not, or you're aware of it or not, that does happen. It's sort of, you will sort of notice that you won't notice it, but people will notice that there are certain words and phrases that you will say that's part of. So if then those words and phrases are not part of that blog, then it's sort of, well, has Ash written this? Is this Ash, or is this somebody writing for Ash? And then that just sort of blows the authority out of the water.
It hugely does. And like, so for me, when I went down that route originally of like, oh my gosh, this is going to replace everything, I don't have to do any work. And then I started realizing, I did it for about a week, and then I felt very much, I felt like disconnected. And so I felt there's some videos that are coming out, and you'll be able to see it. The videos on my episodes that I've done on that, I got it to write me a script, I got it to do everything. And they are like 2.5 minutes. Normally my videos are like 15 minutes. They're like 2.5 minutes, because they're like super clear, super to the point. But then I did it for about a week, and I was like, I don't feel at all connected to this. I don't feel at all like this is me. This is just me saying words that I might not say. And a lot of the words, I use a lot of big words in my stuff. And I was like, I don't need to make myself sound smarter or anything like that. I know what to say. And I kind of felt very like completely like out of touch. And that's when it hit me. I was like, okay, you can't really use it for this. And then what I found though was a bit like Calendly, where I think it sits is like Calendly, or like Booking Links, like Microsoft has, what's the Microsoft one again called?
Bookings. Yeah.
Bookings. I thought it was. Yeah. Bookings. Is what they do is they become a really great for a solo, like more, let's say like a one-man band mortgage broker, or someone like myself who's as like a solo consultant. There's lots of stuff that people go, you need to hire someone as a PA. You don't need to hire a PA if you've got a good booking link system set up correctly, because it will do it for you. This is the same thing where AI can come in, is if you're really good at if you can speak correctly and do a good podcast, like what you do with your show, then on your solo stuff, then you can go, okay, that transcription using Otter or something like that, I can put it into Otter, and then I can get that to be turned into a blog, and then ask it to shrink that down into a LinkedIn post. And all of a sudden, now 2 other options that, for me, it was one of those things. For me, it was like, these are just options I just didn't use. It wasn't that I now have sped up stuff I was already doing. It was like, okay, I've always known that blogs are really, really great. They're going to be good for search, but I'm dyslexic and I don't have the time to really write the blog, but I have the time to do the podcast. I know LinkedIn prefers written content, not video, but I don't have the time to rewrite an entire post every morning because it's harder work for me. All of a sudden, these 2 options opened up where you're like, okay, I can still do what I'm doing, but put it through this system at the same time. Another one, writing YouTube video descriptions or writing podcast descriptions. How many podcasts do we have where it's like, this is what it is? Because you get to that description bit and you're like, I cannot be bothered to write this bit. This is boring. But when you get you upload the blog, the transcription, and you say, can you please write me a short description for this, for the podcast? It makes it for you. And it's taken it from the information you're saying. So this is where it became, that's where I found, for me, that's the utility of it, is put in what you want. Because otherwise, like for me, of personal branding, I have very distinct, and for me, the issue I found is I have very distinct different views on the way that marketing should be done. Very different, because I'm constantly listening to different things. And so I don't think that, I'm not a fan of like authenticity. I think it's real, but I break into, when I asked it to make a script around why authenticity can be bad advice for personal branding, it turned around and said, that's not right. But I know what I mean by that, but it doesn't. And so That's a problem. And then also for mortgage advisors, like I would be seriously avoid it for one reason. Big reason is most AI, by the way, is 18 months behind. In fact, all AI on the market right now is 18 months behind whatever information is currently available to its database on the web. I didn't know this. I learned about that. Right. So if you're asking it for mortgage tips to generate you ideas, I don't know. I mean, you'll know this, and any mortgage broker who's been awake for the last 18 months know that whatever happened 18 months ago is completely different now to what is on.
So you happened 18 minutes ago, mate. Never mind 18 months.
Exactly. So like right now, mortgage brokers are putting this in going, can you give me mortgage tips? And it's like, yeah, but the mortgage tips, the mortgage tips, that what happens right now, like it's get your mortgage sorted ASAP because rates might increase. The advice is pumping out. And to me, I would look at this as an option. I'd look at this very excitingly as a broker going, great. Everybody else is going to run to this like a moth to a flame, and they're going to put out outdated generic information. So the good thing right now is like, okay, this is my opportunity to be super niche, super specific, and super relevant. And if that way, if I want to use it to then to amplify the message, great. But like, it's like a salmon going upstream. Go the opposite way to everyone else. And as this gets more and more, and I've seen, people in our space, competitive ours, doing live streams on it, talking about how it's going to change the world. And I think it needs to just be, it's not the best thing in the world, if you know what I mean.
No, I do. And you use one word in there, which I've just talked about before, which is what you are, a personal branding coach. You are it's personal branding, and that's what it's all about. It's not, like you said, it has its time and place. I think it does. And I think it has its place for the certain things that you're looking at using it for. And brokers will use it. If they want to get some evergreen content out there about something and they want to put a blog on their website, then fine. Like that, I would say that's okay doing that, because it's just going to create an evergreen blog that's just going to sit on your website, and it's not controversial, it's not personal, it's not got the words you use and say, and that's fine. And you can edit it and change it to a little bit if you wanted to do that. But I think in terms of actual creating content for you and how you want it to, like you say, it's not going to give an account of you. So if you're using it to create content, and then we've talked about it time and time before, Ash, where you then have an appointment with somebody, and then they're totally different to how they sound and all the words they've used. And it's like, hang on a minute, I've sort of read these blogs that this person's created, but then I get an appointment with them face to face or virtually or on the phone. They're not, and all of a sudden in my mind as a client, I'm on the back foot thinking, like, who am I dealing with here? Who is this person? And I think it goes back to the fact that it's like the feedback I get in terms of people that I work with and I coach is they know, like, they listen to the podcast, they watch the podcast, they then they reach out and book a discovery call, and it ain't no different. It is literally, and that's the feedback I get, is that, and it's the same for you. Like, you are who you are, and there's no need to change that. But using that to your advantage. And I think that's the feedback I like, and feedback I'm motivated by, is when somebody says that to me, they said, well, it's like, as I'm on your podcast, is that you're exactly the way that you are. And that there's no reason to be any different from what you are.
You just make your life more difficult than it needs to be, really, with that. It really does. I'm a big advocate of that. Dyslexic, so you're not going to get emails that are spelt correct. So I may as well just address that straight away. Like, that's, it's one of those where, and then that becomes a powerful thing. It becomes a powerful thing. So one thing that, like with me, like you identify these different things. For me, I am dyslexic and I have a very little attention to detail. So I'm not bothered. So I'm that way. So if I address that in all my content, talk about that openly, if you're going to work with me as a coach and then think, oh, he said he was going to send me an email and he didn't. Well, that's because I forget. And then you have to send me a message. Actually, didn't send me an email. Oh, sorry. Yeah. And then, and it's fine. It never becomes a problem. It's very similar with, I'm also somebody that is I have a very low tolerance of work not being done. That's something that for me, like, I have a very low tolerance of that. And I talk about that a lot in my show, in my podcast and stuff, because that was something, again, if you don't talk about it, people don't expect it. And that's the thing we have to remember as brokers, as anyone, is if you want a specific type of client or a specific type of process to be done, you need to speak it into existence. And this makes me laugh with this with brokers where they'll go, I want to work with a certain client. I'm like, great, well, or I want all clients to use Zoom. Cool. And are you telling every client every time you meet them they should use Zoom? Because if you're not, how are they supposed to know? And that's like, so with me, my motto has very much been changed over the last maybe year of like, I will never tell you to do something I would never do. The thing is, I do a hell of a lot, and I expect a hell of a lot, but people now, that's very much becoming my brand, and that's the thing that we have to, that's the stuff that we don't think about as advisors. We have to think about, are you truly sharing who you are? You know, I am covered in tattoos. I am, you know, like I share a lot of this type of, I am a crazy weird guy that's a Buddhist, and I share it so they understand, okay, this is who you're going to deal with. And I think that, and because of that, you win. And your clients are exactly the same. Your clients, as a broker, you do this with your clients and you will win. If you're just wearing a suit and tie, which again, nothing wrong with that. Suit and tie is absolutely what you should be if that's you. That's the other thing, is if it's you, I think we had maybe about 2000, and like we saw this, Gary Dass, you know, one of the first guys to do it, Active Mortgages, very well known for the fact that it was a gym related. He was a fitness guy. He wore shorts. He wore t-shirt. Like the thing with was quite funny is it worked for Gary because that's who Gary is. Then we saw an army of people start to wear shorts and a polo shirt because, well, if it worked for Gary, it must work for me. No, it worked for Gary because that's who Gary is. That's not the trick. And I think we kind of, I don't know if you felt this way or not, but I definitely think the industry moved to like, oh, well, if it worked for him, then all I need to do is wear a polo shirt, wear shorts, and talk about self-employed mortgages, and I'll make money. And it's like, no, why he just was successful is because he looked at who he was and became who he was and showed the world who he was. Just like me, just like you, just like me. We're all very, very, very different. Alex Curtis talks about Batman. It's the same things that, like, if I talk about Batman, I'm not instantly going to be successful. It's not the way it works. Like, we have to share who we truly are and what we value and don't value. I don't value money, so I talk about it all the time. Me and you joke about it all the time. The six-figure thing, we talk about that all the time. Like, I don't value it. So I purposefully say, if you're motivated by money, just don't even try talking to me because I'm not bothered. No. And I think the more you talk about that type of stuff, and then if you are motivated by money, you should talk about that. And then you'll get people come to you that talk about, it's so funny how much we hide behind. We think that the video about mortgages is going to get us the client. It's not. The video about mortgages, but you sharing who you really are, that's the thing that's going to generate leads.
I think that's it. It's not necessarily having 15 personal posts, what you had for breakfast and everything like that. We're not talking about that sort of side of things. It's just sharing about who you are, your values, who you are as a person, expectations massively. And I think that's it. It's like, I find that with regards to, and it's the same relevance as clients. Brokers have clients. I have clients. It's the same thing. People reach out to me, and because for various reasons, they'll not reach out to me because they want, like, for the rah and they're like, it's like the noise. They reach out to me because it's for various reasons, and we talk about that. But they know that's what they. So I know as a coach, I am not for everybody. But I am right for certain people. I had a coaching, like a discovery call, and it was clear the other day, and it was clear from the start. It's like, well, why have you, like, and I will ask her this, why have you booked this call? Like, not in that arrogant kind of way, but it's a case of, well, why did you reach out? And why did you think it was going to be different, the relationship we had from a coaching point of view and what you've seen of me on social media? Why do you think it's going to be any different with, because I talk about coaches, you don't tell people what to do. You understand people's situations, you understand what they are going through, and you help them ride that through to a solution and look from hell to heaven, whatever you want to call it. It's like, that's what you're talking about. It's like what you're talking about, the solutions and helping people deal with that. And like, we talk about it. So like, I help people to be a mortgage broker, or I help people be a business and run a business, and I'm a business coach that way, or I help them with the mindset, or a mixture of all three. It's just but that's who we are, and that's who you are, and that's who your values are. So I think it's important to share the values, who you are as a person, what your expectations are, how you work, because then when people do reach out to you, there is no shock. You want to then, you want quality, not quantity, don't you? As a broker, you want quality leads, you want quality clients, not quantity. You don't want everybody reaching out to you. If you're niching in a certain area, you want those people to, so you may be dealing with less leads, but your conversion will be far better.
Yeah, like
because they know who
it's
you
all
are.
about living it. So it's living who you are. And that sounds a bit spiritual and woo-woo, but what I mean is like it is about living. Instead of telling people, like, there's nothing worse than saying to someone, oh, I'm somebody that gets stuff done. So, but what I found, and this has been massively profound over the last, like I love it when people are like, oh, I'm just the guy. Like, as I said, whereas with me, where I realize this stuff works, I have 2,000 advisors follow me on on Instagram. I think I get about, on my mortgage, I have 2 mortgage podcasts. One gets about 300 to 400 downloads an episode, and one gets about 700 downloads an episode. So I get quite a lot of that, like a lot of impact, like reach from advisors. The stuff that I notice is the onboarding for the right type of clients is when people, it sounds so ridiculous, but it's like I get a message from someone going, and this is quite often, I get a message going, Ash, you watched a video, you talking about your clothes, or like watched a video and you mentioned in that video that you only wear white t-shirts. So I went through my wardrobe and I got rid of all my other clothes because I thought I like the way that he does that. And that to me is like it sounds ridiculous, or it's like I get many messages of people buying the Lumi pods. Me and you chatted before, going, I've been watching you and I'm now going to go and do a cold exposure. And so for me, those are the things where it's like, if you watch any of my content, I'm not talking about that stuff, but I'm sharing it subliminally. And those are the triggers that people go, oh, okay, I like that. And that, to me, when someone sends me that, I'm like, okay, that means that you are resonating with me. If you can get me on that level, I can teach you anything else. I'm not bothered. And that's the thing that we will miss. And it's the same with our clients. If you're like, and I love when people say this with their mortgages, they're like, I just want someone with a mortgage. No, you don't. Like, you want someone who understands you, or not that understands you, that you can understand them. The reason why me and you are so close and have known each other for a long time, worked together for a long time, was we actually connect on a mindset, on a, kind of like that kind of essentialism. You sent me stuff about Buddhism, where we have that connection, which means that we can speak for hours about this thing. That's why it works. It wasn't, oh, wow, he can help me. It's a different thing. It's like, I think that this person thinks about this in the way I would think about it, and then that opens you up. And I think that's the problem online. And this goes back to the AI, is that AI is never going to figure that out. That's never going to figure that out. And that's where you can add AI as much as you want, but for me, and I'm just kind of like being a good way of bringing it back to that point, because the idea is, where do I think content marketing is going to go? Digital marketing, social media marketing, as you were saying right at the beginning question, what's happening? What's going to happen is it's going to be a very weird 12 months where we're going to there's going to be more information out there than there ever has been before, because all of a sudden it's available. It's going to be like an information apocalypse. There's going to be absolutely everything. And the only way you're going to really, not the only way, but the way to survive this and ride this, and not even survive it, thrive in it, is to lean more and more and more and more into human connection, human opinion. Like, what do you feel? Not what, this is another thing, like, not what do, you should do this, but I like to do this. This kind of flip. Me and you have had a conversation about this before in the past, like not like sharing this information of like from your own perspective. Mm-hmm. And you do that, that will be like a beacon in a sea of crap. And I know you're going to swear on here, someone was going to say that someone else, but like, it is going to be like, it's going to be a real kind of diamond in everywhere else that's rubbish. And I think that's, if you're an advisor listening to this now, and I know you are because it's Mortgage Broker Broadcast, and I'd be quite shocked if you were anyone else listening to this, but it's one of these where just be very careful. And it is that thing of like, be greedy when others are fearful, and be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. And it's very much this right now. If you can carve your niche and your values and what you stand for, and you can get that more and more and more clear, you're gonna win. Because I think that people are just going to want to go to what they understand, and it's going to be very, very, very hard to differentiate, like, from the competition, which it is right now. It was like that for me. We talked about right at the beginning of this idea of videos. I was doing videos since 2015. Like, it was only me, Gary, and Alex Kerr. So doing a video was like, that was it. Just make a video and you're already different. Now, and I look often, I look every day on social media and at what's being made by brokers, and I think, would I have stood out now? Absolutely not is the answer to that. Absolutely not. But it's like, it's changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so what would I do differently now? And it's like, well, I would have gone, like, you have to keep looking, going, it's always going to evolve. And they're layering on more and more and more. It's just more access to more people, to more people, to more people. So the only way, but one thing I would say with that, and I thought to myself, I always think this, I'm like, okay, but what I would do is I would realize that, like, go deeper and deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, keep going further down that niche. I do it with my coaching. It's like, I work with everybody. Then I work with brokers. Now I work with brokers who only make a certain level of income. It's not that, again, and then it'll be only working with brokers. You can go so far as only work with brokers in a certain network, and only work, like, you can keep going down. What's wonderful about that for anyone with brokers doing this is, if the further down the rabbit hole you go, the more money you can charge.
Mm-hmm.
The more money you charge, because the more specific you become. And I think this is probably the best time ever to do this, because of this AI. Because AI can make it more specific for you if you know what to put in.
If you know what to put in, absolutely. Ash, that was amazing.
Sorry, I chatted loads.
And like you said, we started recording this. No agenda, no nothing to talk. Well, we always have loads to talk about, but we had no agenda. We knew we'd go for it, and that was, I don't think we could end on a better note than that, really. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing that. Good luck with the live that's being recorded straight after this with Chris. Yeah. This podcast will be out after that. So if you haven't checked that out already, then I'll tag that into the podcast as well. And for anybody that's thinking or looking at and following you and wants to reach out thinking, I want to be working with Ash on a one-to-one, best way to do that is?
So best way, go to ashborland.com, and it's just the first page is there. One thing I would say, if people are interested in working with me, you can fill out the form, do a discovery call. Spots are extremely limited. So it's one of those, I only do one-to-one bespoke coaching. So there's no like other stuff. There's like a online thing that you can do, which keeps you going, the blueprint, but it's extremely limited. So if it really is for people who really are like, I want to build a brand and really seriously want to take it serious. And if that's you and you want to do that and you like all the stuff I've said throughout this and don't think I'm a weird hippie guy that just does lots of stuff, then get in touch. And if you don't vibe with any of the stuff I said, then honestly don't waste my time and yours.
Ash, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your honesty. It's been a great podcast to record, and it's been a pleasure to catch up and talk about this sort of thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. If you have any questions about this podcast or any topics you want us to discuss, or if you're interested in working with me further, then please get in touch.